How's it going, everybody? This is Dominic Minchella. I am the Kansas City Chiefs beat writer for Honest Eye and the host of the Kansas City Chiefs Insider Podcast. Thank you guys so much for stopping in today as we I kind of want to dive into a little limited series as we get closer to the regular season for the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, as we know, the first two preseason games have been played with the Chiefs both dropping them both rather, but going into the last preseason game against the Chicago Bears, we do know that head coach Andy Reid has a plan to get some work done with the ones on the Kansas City Chiefs, both it be the offensive side or the defensive side, but fully expect or plan to expect Patrick Mahomes being out there against the Bears, tight end Travis Kelce, and more. But now that we bring up Travis Kelce, I want to break down a few rooms ahead of the Kansas City Chiefs regular season opener against the Los Angeles Chargers in Sao Paulo, Brazil for week 1. So I've noticed that I've given you guys my expectations, but I haven't given you a breakdown of how I see the rooms unfolding in a depth purpose. So with that being said, couldn't think of any other room to begin with other than the tight end room, which features one of the greatest tight ends, if not the greatest of all time, Travis Kelce. Now, Travis Kelce is likely to be playing a lot against the Bears. However, he hasn't necessarily gotten a whole lot of reps thus far in games of the preseason game, so it might be limited in that aspect. But with this being the last game before the regular season opener, it makes sense as to why Andy Reid wants to have him out there. Even if it's just to get his feet wet, kind of feel out this in what could be his final preseason game in his NFL career, as there's still that retirement rumor hanging over the balance. It's got to be answered at some point rather or another. Just to keep in mind, though, that Kansas City Chiefs and Travis Kelce's agreement of their contract comes to an end following this season. So as Kelce has told reporters, or several rather, is that he's playing out the last year of his contract and that he will decide following this year if he still wants to play football and if that's with Kansas City or that's elsewhere. But for depth purposes for this 2025 regular season campaign, Travis Kelce, there's been a lot of talk whether he's going to be good, whether he's going to be bad. Is he going to continue to digress in his performance, or is he going to have a resurgence? All of these questions, it's hard to answer. So I think that Travis Kelce is going to be a leader. I can answer that. I think that he's going to be a guy that's going to be relied on, whether it be through a lot of targets from Patrick Mahomes, or if he's just the guy that you go to on third down or in the red zone, maybe scoring some touchdowns. He is closing in on the touchdown record, so I think that there is a way that Kansas City Chiefs are going to be able to throw that ball to Travis Kelce more often this season in trying to have him do some end zone dances. But I do think that Travis Kelce, while he might not return to his 1,000 receiving yard type of style, I do think that he's going to be a very strong asset for this team. A guy with nothing to lose. That's the way you got to look at it. He's got nothing to lose. He's proven almost everything you can as a tight end in the National Football League. He's a multi-time Super Bowl champion. Now it's just going out there and having fun. And that's kind of been the theme for the Kansas City Chiefs this offseason. They are expecting going into this season to have some more fun. And while Kelce, he's been talked about negatively in the media since the end of the Super Bowl and the 2024 campaign as is. But I do think that he's going to be able to be an asset one more time, at least for the Kansas City Chiefs. They're going to need him early in this season, especially with the stacked schedule that they've got. Number 2, though, in the depth chart is Noah Gray. And so far, what we've seen thus far through training camp, whether it be or even just mandatory mini camp, Noah Gray, I've talked about this when I first started the podcast. I think that he is a guy that, should the Kansas City Chiefs need to find a replacement for Travis Kelce, it's going to be Noah Gray. You've already extended him. He's a guy who's been underneath Kelce's, leadership since he's broken into the National Football League, and he's progressed every single year. Yes, he hasn't been a tight end to get close to 1,000 receiving yards, but that does not mean that he isn't improving in his game. He is a down-to-earth guy from the way that he speaks to the media, as well as he talks about his teammates, and he's encouraging. I do think that he has a strong chance to be a very strong future tight end in the Kansas City Chiefs system should Travis Kelce retire in the near future. But that being said, you can't give up on Noah Gray as he goes into this season. I do think that he's going to continue his upward trend and total a new career high in receiving yards, potentially score even more touchdowns than he did last year. But you can't give up on Noah Gray or can't turn your eye away from him. He's going to be an impact player. Patrick Mahomes said that this offseason that he is playing like a starting tight end. That, ladies and gentlemen, is confidence in itself. Going into the third depth piece to the tight end room, free agent signee, veteran Robert Tonyan. Man, he's had a great preseason. He's been the leading receiver for the Chiefs. While it is a small sample size, that shows that, the quarterbacks trust him. And even if he is behind both Kelce and Gray in the pecking order to get out onto the field for a majority of the reps, he knows that he's proving, at least, that the reps that he is going to be giving, he's going to make it count. He's a veteran. He knows how it works. He's a great pickup, and he's shown that thus far for the Kansas City Chiefs. And I do think that he's going to be a great asset, much like the other two ahead of him, in mentoring the last guy that fits the mold of the depth in the tight end room, and that is second-year player Jared Wiley. Jared Wiley, of course, his season was cut short due to injury, and he made it a goal this season to be back before training camp. He has achieved it. He looks great. He was out there against the Seattle Seahawks, and while the Kansas City Chiefs said that they are looking to ease him back into the world of the NFL, I do think that from the motivation, mind over matter, he's driven. He's been able to be a guy that has looked adversity in the face, even with injury, and said, you know what, this isn't going to stop me. He's put in the work, and while he still has to climb the ranks of this depth chart, I do think that he's going to be a guy who could be sneaky good for the Kansas City Chiefs in the future, for sure, potentially this year as well. They also have Jake Brenningstool, but he has not been able to play much due to an injury suffered earlier this offseason. And while he could be a depth piece, it is a little unfortunate that he, as an undrafted free agent, is dealing with the injury. Sure, they could put him on the practice squad, but the way that he was playing before he got injured, he might have had a chance to get into the depth chart for the 53-man roster for the Kansas City Chiefs starting Week 1. That being said, though, ladies and gentlemen, as always, I am Dominic Minchella. Be sure to follow me over on X at Dom Minchella. I post and repost every single day. You're not going to want to miss any coverage as we get closer to the regular season. You should also follow us over at KC Chiefs on SI, where we post and repost almost every single article that we've got exclusively free to you. You're not going to want to miss it. Kansas City Chiefs on SI is a place to be to get your Chiefs news. That being said, as always, be kind to one another, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll see you tomorrow.